Hey, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video because Zillow just U-turned because they now believe that home sales will increase this year and also home values will also rise this year and in 2025. Much different compared to the previous forecast, which was posted at the end of June. So I have a lot to share in today's video. Let's go ahead and dive right in. This was just posted a couple of days ago. Here's our forecast for home values. So Zillow's home value forecast was revised upward this month, along with expectations for existing home sales. So they actually revised upward their forecast for home values and home sales through 2025. They now anticipate for home values to climb by 2% this year and by 1% over the next 12 months, ending in June of 2025. This is an increase from last month's projection of a gain of 0.4% this year, and then a 1.4% decrease over the next 12 months. Now they're forecasting for a 1% rise in home values through June of 2025. Please let me know in the comments below your thoughts regarding their forecast here for home values to increase by only 1% over the next 12 months. So let's look at home prices so far this year. This is based on Redfin's data center. For the 4 weeks ended July 21st, it's up by 4%. So the median sale price on a national level up by 4%. And right now we're at 395,000. To end the year last year, we're at 361,000. That was also a gain of 4%. If we were to see a gain in home values up by about 2% this year, we should end the year at around $370,000. In my personal opinion, it's anyone's guess regarding the direction in home values. But I will say, though, is that home values have some seasonality to it. As you can see over the past several years, home values tend to increase in the spring home buying season. Then they tend to peak in the summer months and then decrease for the remainder of the year. We saw that in last year. Of course, we saw that in 2022, but also we saw that in 2021, except when rates decreased to near record lows in around, I think it was August of 2021. The average fixed rate was around 2.7%, only a little bit higher compared to the all-time record lows that was set back in January that year. And because rates decreased in the basically the end of summer of 21, that's why we saw home prices increase for the remainder of the year, which is entirely unusual to see that. All right, let's get back to Zillow's forecast regarding home sales. I have a lot to share regarding this. They're now forecasting for a modest increase compared to the previous month. So Zillow is now projecting for 4.2 million existing home sales this year, indicating a 2.3% growth rate over last year's numbers. So they're basically looking at existing home sales, which means anything other than brand new home construction, and of course, excluding multifamily properties as well. So 4.2 million is our forecast in 2024. In my personal opinion, let me know what you guys think about this, but I believe we're going to be at around 3.9 million this year, which would be a slight decrease compared to last year's levels. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Anyway, so forecast this year, 4.2 million. To kind of take a step down memory lane, in 2021, we had 6.12 million existing home sales that year. That was a 15-year high. The next year, it decreased by about 1.1 million. Then in 2023, another decrease down by about 1 million. So we're at 4.1 million. That was the fewest number of home sales since 1995. In other words, a 28-year low. So in a span of just 2 years, we went from a 15-year high down to a 28-year low. Zillow is now forecasting for 4.2 million this year. That began a slight upper revision from their previous forecast. Their previous forecast was at 4.12 million. Now it's slightly above that this June. Excluding last year, that would be the fewest number of home sales for existing houses since 2008. Again, my predictions is that we're going to be at around 3.9 million based on the sales pace so far this year. And given the fact we have near record lows regarding pending home sales based on data from the National Association of Realtors. So we have a lack of forward-looking indicators regarding closed home sales. And that's a decrease of pending home sales, but also seeing fewer home sales this year so far compared to last year. Also, just to share this, at 4.2 million, going back to 2008, there was only 4.11 million. Someone commented on my channel, I think it was today, regarding that we're basically at the lowest level since the 1970s or 1980s regarding home sales. And based on data from NAR, which goes back to 1989, that's not actually really true. Looking at 4.2 million right now, looking at the early 1990s, which is right here, we had home sales in the range of 3.1 to around 3.8 million. So quite a bit lower than last year at basically 4.1 million, and quite a bit lower compared to the forecast as well. So if I'm right at 3.9 million, that'd be the fewest amount of home sales since approximately 1995. But in order to get to the early 1990s though, home sales will have to actually crash this year. And already we had a crash in home sales last year. And based on the data we have today, I do not expect to see home sales decrease by another million this year from last year's levels. In any case, Zillow's real estate market predictions this year, that'd be down by 21% compared to 2019. Back then we had 5.34 million sales. Now they're calling for about 4.2 million. Also, based on my nerdy Excel formula right here, the median number since the year 2000 is just under 5.3 million. Therefore, if we actually get to 4.2 million this year, that'd be approximately 1.1 million less than the long run average. So I think we all can agree we're at very low levels in home sales this year. And also we saw that last year as well. Here's something I put together for you guys as well. Looking at so far this year, how many sales do we see last year at this time, January through June, compared to this year so far? This is based on the actual number of home sales of existing houses according to NAR. So from January through June, we had just over 2 million home sales that year. Looking at the same time frame, January through June this year, we have just under 2 million home sales. So in fact, we have approximately 67,000 less than last year's levels, or a decrease of 3%. In other words, we basically are on track to have fewer home sales this year compared to last year. So if we were to extrapolate this at 1.97 million so far this year, multiply that by 2 because that would be an annualized number, we would get at just over 3.9 million this year. And again, going back to this, that'd be slightly less than last year's levels, which again was the lowest level since 1995. So if we could get to this number, less than 4 million, that would be a 29-year low in home sales this year. All right, getting back to Zillow's report here, it says Zillow's outlook for home value appreciation, not the median sale price, home values, has grown stronger as rate forecasts are improving, reflecting lower rates ahead. Still, somewhat muted home value growth is forecasted in the coming year as new for sale listings increase and demand recovers less rapidly. In other words, new supply hitting the market or new listings rising, yet sales, recovering less rapidly, which basically means, either decreasing or increasing, but not at the same rate in the previous year. So big picture, what they're saying here is that we're seeing an increase in supply, yet demand is not recovering as rapidly as the rise of new supply hitting the market. In other words, supply rising at a faster clip compared to demand. And in fact, the data actually supports that right now, because looking at Realtor.com for the most recent trends that we have for the month of June, there was approximately 421,000 new listings on a national level. That was up by 6.3% year over year. Last year's levels was this pink line. This line right here, the gold line, was 2 years ago. This line right there, I'll call that green blue, was back in 2020. The green line is 2021, and clumped here, red, orange, and blue is pre-COVID. 2017, 18, and 2019. So new listings are higher than last year's levels, but way below the past several years, going back to at least 2017. So new supply rising from last year, but pending home sales, a small increase up by 2.4% year over year. What's interesting about this chart right here is that they're showing here that we have more pending home sales compared to last year and 2019, 2017, and 2018, but fewer pending home sales compared to 2022, 20, and 2021. This is much different compared to data from the National Association of Realtors, which they actually just reported a couple of days ago that pending home sales, or their index regarding that, fell to a new all-time record low. Much different compared to this chart here, showing that pending home sales are less than the past couple of years, but actually higher compared to pre-COVID levels. And that, my friends, is one of the reasons why I'd like to share multiple sources on data, because just looking at one company's data can tell us one story, but looking at another company's data can kind of tell us a different story as well. Going back to Zillow's report, as of last month, which was June, total inventory was recovering quickly, up by 23% compared to last year. I made a couple of videos regarding this, not Zillow's data, but other sources such as Realtor.com and AltosResearch.com. In those videos, I shared how inventory was rising faster so far this year compared to 2017, 18, and 19, but not nearly as fast compared to 2022. Back then, inventory was absolutely exploding. Right now, inventory is growing. It's higher compared to last year, but the growth rate is much more subdued compared to 2 years ago. In any case, while affordability challenges persist, this trend favors buyers, offering reduced competition. They're all talking about the rise of inventory, right? When inventory increases, of course, that's good news for home buyers. We see reduced competition because there's more options for home buyers, a wider selections of listings, and more time to find the ideal house. Just something I kind of thought about is that this is frankly needed. And we basically had like multiple years in which sellers had a clear advantage over home buyers. And I would absolutely love to see a more balanced, healthy housing market. It's not healthy to see home prices, or an environment in which home prices increase by 20 to 25%. It's more healthy to see home values increase in the range of 3 to 6%, which historically is the long run average. Also, it's great to see more options for home buyers where inventory is up, whereas in years past, especially 2020 through early 2022, inventory was basically being depleted because houses were selling so fast. In the spring of 2022, back then we had to have an appointment to look at a house. If you have a home buyer, if they are interested in looking at a house, you had to schedule an appointment with the home seller or their listing agent. And if you didn't do that within the first couple of hours of the home being listed for sale, you couldn't even have the option to look at the house because all their appointments just got booked up. It was just absolutely insane. Now it's a competitive market in the Sacramento area, but not nearly as competitive compared to 2022, which frankly is very much needed. Zillow also noted this as well. They're forecasting for the inventory pool to slowly refill. Why can't they just say they're forecasting for inventory to rise? I don't know. As houses linger on the market longer or take longer to sell, prompting more sellers to cut their asking prices. So based on the latest news we have from AltosResearch.com regarding the share of price drops for the week ended July 19th, we're at 38.6%. So just over 1/3 of all houses listed for sale right now have reduced their asking price. That's a share of price drops at around 39%. This, by the way, for the same time frame, is at least a 5-year high. So for example, last year, 34%, 2022 this time, 35%, 21, only 23% compared to 39% right now. Higher than 2020, of course, as well as pre-COVID levels back in August 9th of 2019, it was at 35%. What Zillow is basically saying here is that if inventory starts increasing, that means that all the home sellers that have their house listed for sale, they have more competition, but in turn, home buyers have less competition because there's more home sellers than home buyers. And because of that, that's going to put more downward pressure on prices potentially. And on top of that, we should see more price reductions as well. And again, price drops tends to peak in the winter months in around November. And here we are in the middle of July, basically, and we still have an elevated share of price drops right now. As you guys all know, I always say that real estate is local. So here's a really good snapshot looking at the forecasts for some of the major cities. So again, their national forecast is calling for an increase up by 0.9% through June of 2025, and the month-to-month change, a small increase. So the forecast is this blue line. The previous reading was all this black line going back to 2005. Back then, January 2005, wow, 181,000. Now we're at, according to Zillow, $363,000. Let's have a look at some major cities though, because on a national level, they're calling for a gain up by 0.9%. Let's look at Austin, Texas, much different, down by 2.6%. So they're forecasting by the time we hit June of 2025, we're going to be at 454,000. Compare that to the peak, which was in basically June of 2022, $565,000. So basically about what, 110,000 less compared to the peak of 2022. In Boise, Idaho, they're calling for a gain of 1.4% year over year. Let's take a look at Cape Coral, Florida. They're calling for a gain up by 0.6%. Dallas, Texas, small gain, or no, not a small gain, down by 0.1%. So basically flat over the next 12 months. In contrast, let's look at Denver, Colorado. They're forecasting for home values to decrease by 1.2%. Las Vegas, Nevada, up by 0.6%, up to 433,000 compared to the peak that was set back in July of 2022 at 445,000. In contrast, in Salt Lake City, Utah, they're calling for a gain up by 0.5%. Colorado Springs, Colorado, down by 0.9%, quite a bit different. Now here's a big decrease though, because Zillow is calling for San Francisco home values to decrease by 3.3% year over year, down to $1.1 million. The record highs was set back in June 2022, just under $1.3 million, approximately 200,000 less compared to the forecast through June next year. In contrast, in places such as the Northeast, such as in Hartford, Connecticut, they have been experiencing a huge increase in home prices, and now they're calling for another increase up by 2.2%. So they're at 374,000. Let's look at this. Right before COVID, January 2020, $236,000. Now they're calling for a gain up to $374,000. Can you say real estate is local? With that said, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Help us reach 100,000 subscribers. Also, if you guys got any value out of today's video, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Of course, appreciate you. Hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.